Hi, everyone. I'm Cynthia Toussaint at Women in Pain Nation. I'm so glad you're here. Today, I'm going to be doing a hot take interview. And these are bite-sized conversations with women in pain and other pain experts that speak to the lived experience of those of us with chronic pain. So today, I'm going to be talking to the lovely and wise Ms. Stephanie Weaver. And there you are. Hi, Stephanie. Thank you so much for being here. You are so many things besides being a woman in pain. Some of the things you do, you are a chronic illness advocate. You are a speaking coach. You are the author of a number of books, including one of my favorites, the Migraine Relief Plan Cookbook. I just can't say that one enough. I love that book. And you know what? I love food. So I think we should just jump right into one of my great passions. And I'm wondering, as a woman in pain, self-care is utmost important to me. And I'm wondering with diet, how can it help us, those of us with pain, and how can it hinder us?
Sure. Thanks for having me. And I want to start by saying I try not to use the word diet because it's so loaded. Not that it's incorrect, but what you mean by that is the foods that we eat, not a specific eating plan. First, I'm going to say there's no magic bullet, unfortunately. I wish there was. I wish I could give everybody a list of things and say, these will take away your chronic pain. That's not how our bodies work, unfortunately. And our personal needs change over time. So the first thing that I wanted to encourage people is to just think about foods that feel nourishing to you. Whatever that means to you and however that feels, I think that's a great rule of thumb as a starting point. Now, if you have foods that you know are a problem for you because you have a particular health problem, you have food allergies, or you've identified specific migraine triggers, for instance, then it makes sense to avoid those foods. Otherwise, I think try to eat foods that you believe are healthful for you. So I don't think it's a great idea to eat foods that you think are bad for you, regardless of how those foods are in the world. Yeah. And also, whatever feels healthful and nourishing. If that means it's plant-based, that's great. If it means you're an omnivore, that's great. There's no right or wrong answer to this because all of our needs change over time. Now, there seems to be the best evidence for longevity with a Mediterranean diet, and that's a diet eating plan that's rich in plant-based foods, light on proteins, and uses olive oil as the main fat source. So those are my sort of hot takes initially.
I love that. I love that you, Stephanie, I thought there'd be rules and
no rules.
Wow, we should have you on more often. No, this is really good news. I love that you're also saying nourishing, what feels nourishing to you. What do you believe is good for you? Because I'm a strong believer in what we think is going to happen is probably going to happen. So you're sort of putting the ball in our court. We kind of have to figure it out. I went vegetarian about 15 years ago. That felt really good to me at the time. And then after going through aggressive cancer, I changed my diet and I still am on this diet, lots of fish. And other than that, I'm vegan. And I'm wondering what you think about that diet.
So, like I said, if that feels like what it's supportive to your health right now, then that makes the most sense for you. I've known a number of people who have used a plant-based diet with cancer. There may be some evidence around that. But the reason that I say no rules is because rules are stressful, and living with chronic illness and chronic pain is really stressful. And so having restrictions or feeling like, oh, I can't eat that, or, oh, I can't go out and do this because I won't be able to find foods that I can have, that adds an unnecessary level of stress to our lives that I don't think is helpful. And I'm personally recovering from 40 years of an eating disorder, and my disorder showed itself as restricting foods. So I don't feel like I'm really in a position to tell anyone else what they should eat, but also I think that there's an intuitive piece that we often lose because we get so kind of co-opted by diet culture, or we're handed all these different diet sheets by doctors. I mean, that's definitely happened to me multiple times. And then it's super confusing. So like I said, if there's something specific, like you know that you need to be on a low sodium diet because you have high blood pressure. Absolutely. And my book actually takes you through how to reduce the sodium in your diet. So there's plenty of
Right.
recipes in there, and there's a whole plan for doing that. But I think it's really hard to maintain something super restrictive. And so I think that adds some stress, and
Yes,
stress is not good for our health. So that's why I say no
absolutely.
rules.
I love that. No rules. There's stress. Rules are stressful. I actually love the diet that I eat, and people look at me like, "Oh, you know what? That's so healthy." Kind of, they feel
Yeah.
like they feel sorry for me. And this is actually the tastiest diet I've ever had. So
Right.
I love it.
Right.
And the doctor who told me to eat this diet, I trust completely, is an integrative doctor. I just adore him. So I feel really good about it. Something that I actually would like to change is I would love to be gluten-free. As somebody who's experienced pain, high impact pain for 42 years, I get asked all the time, "You're gluten-free, right? Or you're not gluten-free?" And for my caregiver, John, he's doing all of the grocery shopping, all of the cooking. I do the cleanup. But I feel like it's being vegan, it's so hard for him to even find brown rice. Healthy foods. He's actually right here. And I don't want to make it his job harder. I don't want to put that stress on him to be gluten-free. I'm wondering if you think it's worth trying. I'd love to try it for a month and see if it helps my pain. What do you think about that?
So I did advocate for that in my books for people to try it to see if they had a positive response and reduced incidence and severity of migraine attacks. I don't recommend it long term unless you have celiac disease, because that's a medical condition. That means you actually have a negative physical response to gluten. Again, being gluten free is restrictive. It's more expensive. It's harder to find the things. And when you combine it with gluten-free and vegan, which I did for 4 years, it is difficult. So if there's not a medical reason to do it, now, certainly if you feel like, wow, I've tried everything else and everybody keeps telling me gluten-free will help me, sure, it's worth trying things. I generally say, like, if you're going to try a new supplement, try one new supplement for a month, 2 months, and don't change anything else, because otherwise you can't tell if the supplement's helping you. Same with if you wanted to try going gluten-free. But unless you've been diagnosed as celiac, there's no medical reason to do that, and it does make life more difficult.
And that's such a great answer. And I feel so relieved because now I don't have to do it. Because I kept thinking, well, everybody asks me, and I know it'll make me more well, but that's so interesting. So now I'm not convinced about that at all. Can I ask you? I'm going to ask you.
Sure.
You don't have to answer.
Yeah.
What is your diet? What do you eat?
I eat everything. I have completely eliminated all my restrictions except for like the 5 foods that I know are migraine triggers for me. So there's
What's those?
certain fermented foods. So anything with fish sauce, I'm going to get an instant headache. A couple of
Really?
specific cheeses, definitely. Anything that's heavily fermented. I've never been able to drink alcohol without getting a headache. So that's been out of my life since I was 20.
Me too, for other reasons.
And other than that, and this is, again, I'm working with an eating disorders coach. We have been working with like learning to live with no restrictions. So I've been restricting my food and my choices for a million years, like literally since I was in my 20s. And I don't know how that impacted my health. So I am allowing myself, encouraging myself to eat whatever I want, whenever I want. It was very challenging to stop restricting and to trust that I would learn how to eat the right amount of foods. And so I basically just, I get up and I think, well, what am I hungry for? Am I hungry yet? Okay, now I feel like this morning I had a piece of this beautiful dark rye kind of seed and nut, this super thin bread that's super dense. And I had a little bit of whipped cream cheese on it, a little bit of my friend's homemade lemon curd, and some fresh strawberries that I just bought. Unbelievable. Fantastic.
You're amazing.
So,
I want that. Please send.
And lunch, last night I made pork shoulder in the slow cooker. And so I had a piece of super yummy bread with the gravy I made and some pork shoulder. So an open-faced sandwich. I'm super satisfied. I might have an afternoon snack. I might not. And then dinner, I try to make a big salad every night for dinner.
Yes.
So then I know at least I'm getting a good assortment of vegetables. But beyond that, I try
Yes.
not to pay any attention to like what I ate. Did I have enough servings of anything? Because that was all part of my restrictive process.
Right. It sounds like what you're doing, and this is, lesson number one in self-care, you're listening to your body and
Right.
you're trusting your body.
And
I mean,
developing that intuition that I can trust it again,
intuition.
because for so many years I didn't believe I could trust my body. And
I just
when you
wonder.
restrict, what happens is it just makes you want those things. It makes you binge. So
So,
then if you go
yes.
through that dieting process, you end up not trusting yourself because you're like, well, I can't have Pop-Tarts in the house because I'll eat the whole box. I have Pop-Tarts in the house right now. I've eaten 3 of them. It might take me 2 weeks to finish them. It's not because I think Pop-Tarts are great or whatever. It's like, you know what? I haven't had Pop-Tarts in 30 years and I remember liking them, and I'm going to see how they taste now. So,
and you don't want to, I mean, if you really want something, I mean, aren't you depriving yourself if you don't let yourself have a little bit
and
of it?
so
And that seems unhealthy.
what it
That's
happens in your
stressful.
brain is it's a starvation mode. Basically, your body thinks I'm
Oh,
starving. So therefore I
interesting.
have to eat more when I get the chance. You don't trust that you're
I
going to have
see.
enough to eat when you restrict. And
So
so
we're
this is
learning to
me in the middle of
trust.
this process. I honestly don't feel like I can give anyone advice, but my eating disorders coach tells me I'm doing a good job and I'm moving forward in the process.
Wow.
So
So
yeah.
this is amazing. I love your answers, and they were not at all what I thought you were going to say. And I feel so good about diet. And I just want to say before we wrap, I know we're supposed to wrap, that John and I came to visit you and Bob once, and you served us some vegan snacks, and they were like that, including a dessert snack. That was like the best food we've ever had. And everybody, I'm not going to give you your address, but on our bucket list, we all need to go to Stephanie's house and have snacks.
Well, I'm glad it was memorable. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here, Stephanie. You are a wealth of knowledge always. Love you so much. Have a great day. And thank you, everybody else, for being here. What a wonderful hot take interview. We learned so much today. Please, in the comments below, tell us what diets work for you, what diets haven't worked, what flares you, what doesn't flare you. What is your intuition telling you? Are you listening to your body? I have many more questions. And please post your recipes. Stephanie and I want to know. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here, and signing off for now from Women in Pain Nation. Bye-bye, everybody. That was fun.